On a recent Wednesday, the state of Mississippi carried out the execution of Richard Gerald Jordan. This act marked the culmination of an extraordinary legal journey spanning nearly 5 decades. The event drew significant attention, highlighting the enduring complexities of capital punishment. Richard Jordan held a somber distinction within the state's correctional system. He was the longest-serving inmate on Mississippi's death row, a title that underscored the immense duration of his incarceration. His case became a stark symbol of the protracted nature of capital punishment. The execution was directly linked to a crime committed nearly half a century ago. Jordan had been convicted for the 1976 murder of Edwina Martyr. This tragic event set in motion the legal proceedings that would define the rest of his life. At the time of his execution, Richard Jordan was 79 years old. His advanced age brought into sharp focus the question of justice delayed and the human cost of such prolonged legal battles. It raised ethical considerations about the state's right to execute an elderly individual. Jordan was also a Vietnam veteran, a detail that added another layer of complexity to his story. His military service and the potential trauma associated with it became a central point of contention in his later appeals. This aspect resonated deeply with advocates for veterans' mental health. He had been sentenced to death nearly 5 decades prior, a time frame almost unimaginable in its length. This extraordinary period on death row raised profound questions about the efficiency and humanity of the justice system. It forced a reevaluation of what constitutes a timely execution. His death occurred by lethal injection, the standard method of execution in Mississippi. This procedure, while intended to be humane, has been the subject of intense scrutiny and legal challenges. The method itself remains a point of ethical debate. The execution took place at the Mississippi State Penitentiary in Parchman, a facility synonymous with the state's death row. Parchman's history is deeply intertwined with the narrative of capital punishment in the South. It stands as a stark reminder of the state's punitive measures. This execution was notably rare for Mississippi, marking only the third in the state within the last decade. Such infrequency highlights a broader national trend of declining executions, even as death sentences persist. It underscores the evolving landscape of capital punishment. The U.S. Supreme Court denied Jordan's final appeals without comment. This silence from the nation's highest court effectively sealed his fate. It signaled the exhaustion of all legal avenues for reprieve. The execution process began at 6 p.m., a precise moment marking the final chapter of his life. This scheduled commencement brought a chilling finality to the decades-long legal struggle. It was a moment of profound gravity for all involved. The time of death was officially recorded as 6:16 p.m., a mere 16 minutes after the process began. This brief interval belied the nearly 50 years of legal wrangling and human suffering that preceded it. It was a swift end to a long and tortuous journey. Significantly, Jordan was among a group of inmates who had sued the state over its 3-drug execution protocol. They claimed the protocol was inhumane, arguing it constituted cruel and unusual punishment. This legal challenge underscored persistent concerns about the method of execution itself. Please like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. The crime for which Richard Jordan was executed involved a violent ransom scheme. This premeditated act revealed a chilling level of calculation and intent. It was a crime driven by financial gain, executed with brutal efficiency. The events unfolded in January 1976, a period that now seems distant in time. The passage of decades does not diminish the severity of the original offense. It merely highlights the enduring impact of such violent acts. Jordan initiated contact with bank loan officer Charles Martyr, setting the stage for his heinous plan. This initial interaction was a calculated step in a larger, sinister design. It demonstrated a deliberate targeting of his victim. He meticulously looked up the martyr's home address in a telephone book. This detail revealed a disturbing level of preparation and intent. It underscored the cold, methodical nature of the crime. Jordan subsequently kidnapped Charles Martyr's wife, Edwina Martyr. This act of abduction was the critical turning point, escalating his scheme into a terrifying ordeal for the victim. It marked the beginning of her tragic end. Court records detail that Jordan took her to a secluded forest. This isolated location was chosen to facilitate the crime and minimize the chance of detection. It was a place where the ultimate horror would unfold. There, he fatally shot Edwina Martyr, ending her life in a brutal act of violence. This cold-blooded murder was the ultimate consequence of his ransom plot. It left a devastating void in the lives of her family. Following the murder, Jordan then demanded $25,000 from her husband, Charles Martyr. He falsely claimed that Edwina was safe, adding a layer of cruel deception to his crime. This callous lie compounded the family's anguish. This elaborate and violent scheme painted a grim picture of Jordan's actions. The details of the crime underscored the profound loss and trauma inflicted upon the Martyr family. It was a stark reminder of the depths of human depravity. The calculated nature of the kidnapping and murder was a key factor in the prosecution's case. It demonstrated a clear intent to commit a capital offense. This evidence was central to his conviction and subsequent death sentence. The impact of this crime reverberated through the community and the lives of those affected. It left an indelible mark on the Martyr family, who endured decades of legal proceedings. Their suffering was a constant backdrop to Jordan's appeals. The brutality of the act was consistently highlighted by prosecutors throughout the various trials. It served as a powerful justification for the ultimate penalty sought by the state. The facts of the murder were undeniable. The ransom demand made after the murder further illustrated Jordan's callous disregard for human life. It showed a perpetrator focused solely on financial gain, even after committing the most egregious act. This detail solidified the state's case against him. The execution of Richard Jordan concluded a truly lengthy legal process, one that spanned nearly 5 decades. This extraordinary duration is a testament to the complexities and delays inherent in capital cases. It raises serious questions about the efficiency of the justice system. This process included multiple trials, each a painstaking re-examination of the evidence and arguments. The repeated legal proceedings prolonged the agony for all parties involved. They underscored the exhaustive nature of capital litigation. Furthermore, the case involved numerous appeals, filed at various levels of the state and federal judiciary. Each appeal represented a desperate attempt to overturn the conviction or sentence. These legal challenges contributed significantly to the decades-long delay. Jordan's defense consistently argued that he was denied due process throughout these proceedings. This fundamental constitutional right was central to their claims of injustice. They asserted that procedural errors tainted the legal outcome. Specifically, the defense contended that Jordan was denied the right to an independent mental health professional. Such an expert could have provided crucial insights into his psychological state. This denial, they argued, prejudiced his case. This professional could have presented evidence of his severe post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. The defense maintained that his mental health condition was a critical mitigating factor. Its exclusion, they argued, was a grave error. The PTSD was directly stemming from his service in the Vietnam War, a conflict known for its profound psychological toll on soldiers. This connection between his military experience and his mental state formed a cornerstone of his defense. It highlighted the unseen wounds of war. A petition for clemency, submitted in the final days, echoed this crucial claim. It implored the state to consider the mitigating circumstances of his war trauma. The petition sought mercy based on his unique background. The petition highlighted the potential impact of war trauma on his actions, suggesting it may have influenced his behavior. This argument aimed to provide context for the crime, not to excuse it, but to explain its origins. It presented a more nuanced view of culpability. The Supreme Court, in a critical decision on Monday, rejected a petition that argued his due process rights were denied. This final refusal from the highest court extinguished any remaining hope for a stay of execution. It marked the definitive end of his legal battle. The denial of an independent mental health evaluation was a recurring theme in Jordan's appeals. His legal team consistently argued that this omission prevented a full and fair presentation of his defense. It was a point of deep contention. The protracted nature of the appeals process itself became a subject of critical scrutiny. Critics argued that such delays undermined the very purpose of justice. They questioned whether justice could truly be served after so many years. The legal system's handling of veterans with PTSD, particularly in capital cases, has drawn increasing attention. Jordan's case became a poignant example of this broader societal challenge. It highlighted the need for greater understanding and support for those who served. The repeated rejections of his appeals, culminating in the Supreme Court's final decision, underscored the immense difficulty of overturning a death sentence. It demonstrated the high bar for proving constitutional violations. The legal system, in this instance, remained unyielding. The decades of legal wrangling also placed an immense burden on the victim's family. While seeking justice, they were forced to relive their trauma through countless court proceedings. The legal process, while necessary, prolonged their suffering. The case of Richard Jordan serves as a stark illustration of the complexities inherent in capital punishment. It forces a critical examination of due process, mental health considerations, and the agonizing length of time spent on death row. His execution closes a chapter, but the questions it raises will endure.